when Pwns go onto the maps they like, we saw it against Na'Vi with the Cafe. They're really good on them. And Oregon is their #1 preference map. They played it against M&M in stage 1, and they beat M&M 7-2. And M&M are known through CL as a really good Oregon team. So Pwns are absolutely no slouches on this map. For Wolves, I don't quite understand what they did in the map ban phase. I had a quick look just before we came back on. Wolves actually banned away Skyscraper and Border, which are 2 of Pwns' permabans, and that's allowed Pwns to get their favourite map in on this best of 1. So a little bit curious, but Pwns will be starting out on the attack at least. Wolves obviously getting to go onto the defence.
Is it fair to call the map we just had an upset?
In terms of the first game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I
don't know. It's hard.
Just putting you on the spot.
I mean, I think it's really hard because stylistically, I don't think it was an upset. I think Na'Vi stylistically were always better than Outsiders. But I think on the balance of the league and how the two teams had played in the previous Playday, it absolutely was an upset.
But here, I mean, as you said, the difference is quite vast between them, but you're looking at a team where it's still all tight with 2 Playdays in, only 2. And obviously, if Pwns are able to take this, suddenly they also find themselves on 6 point. Wolves, they'll lose the head-to-head. They will actually find themselves, I believe, technically below, even though they've got a very good round difference of +7, which would be tricky to break from the side here of Pwns. That entire clean sweep, they do have that. And that's sudden for a team that obviously has a massive preference here, and they're going to see if they can at least try and do some damage early on their half. It is all for the side of Pwns to be able to take here, and it all could lead behind the work of, as we said before, a mission.
Absolutely, and we're going to see Wolves. They're going to come out with a basement, what appears to be a roam strategy. They're actually going to reinforce the 2-stage walls off, which we don't always see. There's a mirror on the board as well. And that means you've got to sacrifice a wall somewhere else, especially now that you've put a reinforced wall in kitchen, which would mean that the hatches will presumably open as Shinka just does just that. So Wolves, they're going to try and concentrate their hold on this kitchen meeting area, really denying Pwns, any map control a lot of time. Eventually, if they can, look for a pick, but then look to drop back down those hatches, because of course those hatches are going to be opened up anyway. Kaid's off the board, which means that a mission would have a free time of opening the hatches up anyway. So Wolves' answer to Kaid being off the board, because they banned it, is that actually they're going to do a mid-floor roam and really fight for that middle ground.
I was going to say, with the mirror window stuck in there, Rise has got themselves locked in. The Flores is just going to clear that Banshee on the tuck-in of the door. Oh, there's Rise preempting the push and being able to pull back. Scythe finds Mowgli. The cover doesn't quite work out. There is something to support them on the route round, but you can still see some pressure and presence here from Pwns not too far away. WTG is the slow creep, but the barbed wire means that he's not going to get very far. Just going to have to take it out. Sort of plays the hand and says, well, I'm here, and that's going to force Bibu to either use utility or pull himself further and further back. At this point, he doesn't have anybody else here to offer him too much outside of Rise, just playing around on that swing onto kitchen door, but it's a bit of a no man's land charge. As soon as Bibu tries to put some distance in, chances are there's going to be an angle on him. So he's going to try and make the move before things start to crack around him. Another use of those keeper barriers, and there it is. The drop down, the rotate round, rises back too. They wasted 1.5 minutes and a player, but they've lost one of their own.
I was wondering if Rise and Bibu were actually going to stay too long there, but however, they used very well the use of his army just to cover off the angles to allow them to stay that extra 10-15 seconds. Now, if this execute gets down to 10-15 seconds, bear in mind that time that they wasted up on the mid floor becomes even more valuable. That just extra 10-15 seconds that they wasted. As we will see, Pwns, they're going to start looking in and looking to go down the staircases. Now they're faced with a choice. Do they go laundry? Do they go freezer? Do they go T1 stairs all the way down and push in from blue at the same time? It looks like it's going to be a laundry freezer, but Wolves, they've got the power positions and the mirror window facing laundry to deal with this.
Well, Exodus finds P4 as Rise tries to poke his head around and do a little bit of damage. It's a bit of a sharp lean in, the worst game of his career to one of the best openings, and he's going to see if he can try and match that 2 weeks in a row. He opened huge, and here is leaning back into that. The firefights are coming towards him. There's a take over the top. Shinka gets 30 seconds, and they've got to recollect the kit, which they've now done, but it's a bit of a spread out push here. The control over Laundry Hatch and the pressure down onto Freezer. They're lost in and amongst the smokes. WTG, well, that Candela popped a little bit too late, and Scyther now stuck. A 1 versus 3 situation. No way to get that player up there entirely. in no man's land, so they're just going to have to see if they can try and take the fights themselves. A slow creep. The angle is being held here by Rise. You can see BB on the swing on pillar. They're just sort of making a presence known, and with 9 seconds, well, there's not much else they have to do. They're able to get themselves a bit closer. They pre-fire the angle. It's nothing to be found. Shinka locks the round.
Absolutely excellent discipline there by Wolves in the end. They extended up onto the mid floor. They wasted time. They got the first entry kill, and then they managed to fall back. And then when the execute came in, they trusted their power positions, got the necessary kills, and then in that 1v3 at the end, you saw just how disciplined they were playing. Rise shooting out shots, baiting for the kills to come in, and a great round from Wolves overall. On that, I will say it's a banker site, which is Laundry and Supply.
A what site?
A banker site. It's one that you can always rely on winning if you're going to start off on the defensive Oregon. I would say it's one of the best sites in the game defensively.
Wow.
Just because there's just no verticality, right? There's the free hatches, and then you've got to push staircases as the attackers, or you've got to push into blue, which is a crossfire between E-box/pillar and then the elbow position.
I guess whilst we're casting together over this day, I'm just going to try and push you into the hottest of hot takes, because I know that's what Fabian would want. So
right, okay.
So I'm gonna call you on anything that you say is the best or the worst, and we'll run the numbers later. The numbers so far, they work for your favor, and it's, well, actually probably going to be a bit of a statistical anomaly taking this as the second site. The stage makes sense rather than the dining, but still, with dorms on the board, why this?
Yeah, it's a bit of a question in terms of kids' dorms. There's a lot of players, a lot of teams that would go there as the second primary site. And I've got to say, maybe for Wolves, maybe it's just trying to catch off the attack. You can see that Pwns, they've brought a pretty generic cover-all attack. Normally when teams know that it's meat and kitchen, they will bring an Ossa. They will try and formulate a plan to go into tower side exclusively and plant behind an Ossa shield. Pwns aren't doing that. And given the history of this team and the nationalities of this team, we know they like to play traditional siege. So we wouldn't even expect it even if they knew. But I think potentially for Wolves, this is just to force off any conversations or prep that Pwns might have had in the prep phase, in the kind of operator select phase.
I do still like how Wolves trying to lean in to all of these early fights. They're making sure they're not caught a little bit placid here, and yeah, the site is one where you do have to get this vertical control, but as you said, without them going for it, it kind of begs the question, how much do they know? Well, enough that Mowgli has now been forced into a different location, and they're just going to run their way through with the Iana. You can see that they've got pretty solid hold up here, but you kind of have to lock in verticality. It's one of two takes, and the verticality here that they're flirting with shows the idea that they want to try and plant onto kitchen. As you said, it's not the easier one of the two based on most teams' play, but there's a good lean in with Rise leaning back against it. Looks for the second Exodus. Has the trade, the refrag is theirs, and most importantly, the verticality.
And Pwns have excellently played the refrag game there. It was going to go one of two ways, obviously, but Pwns, they come out the victors. Cypher managing to get a kill and then his life traded out. Shinka therefore goes aggressive in the man disadvantage, and P4 will go along with him. Has been punished. They are in the 2v4, and it's not looking too great for Wolves right now.
That's it. They found themselves struggling there. It was good blow for blow play there from the side of Pwns. They're able to lean against the play that was put before them, which they couldn't quite get on the connection on the previous round. Over a minute, vertical control in a 4 versus 2. All the time in the world to try and formulate this plant, and it's down to Bibu and P4, the big players, to try and put some of them back down. P4 finds the first. The second is about to make that wall much more uncomfortable, but the impact didn't quite get it. A little bit too far, and he's tucked tail all the way to the back line. Bibu, in the meantime, has found his way back round, and they're still steadily droning, and that one maybe just caught the side of Bibu.
Absolutely, and they've got a 2v3, but WTG is going to take a push into sight. However, P4's got an angle, has seen this going to happen and throw an impact, won't actually get the kill, and the kill will come out from Nico and Emission, getting 1 kill each. And that will be a great round from Pwns, completely dictated by the fact that they played the trade game in that early round exceptionally well.
Yeah, they were really locked down on the play that was happening up top. And as I said, what I'd like to see from Wolves was they were trying to be a little bit aggro, trying to shut down Pwns' momentum. But this time, Pwns were a little bit more attuned. They're a little bit more aware, a little bit more ready for the idea that if you peek a wolf, they come in a pack. You've got to bring a little bit of backup to make sure you can keep laying down the wolves.
And we're going to see a round 3. They are going to go straight away from the kitchen meeting site. It's not a surprise. You know, we thought they might have gone there just to throw Pwns off, and they potentially did, but we'll realise that overall Kid Storms is the better site. Now, P4 is going to put Goyo Canister in the closet, which makes me wonder straight away, is there going to be a rotate made by Mowgli? Looks like there is going to be. So Wolves, once again, they've got some... It's not a rotate, it's just line of sight holes. So it doesn't look like they're going to play too aggressively inside of Master Bedroom. More so, they're just going to want to try and deny attacker entrance into it. But that is, of course, a wall that the attackers also like to have open. So it's curious from Wolves in terms of how they want to play it. Shinka's below on the mirror. We're going to see the same mirror window inside of kitchen, which, again, it's far from default, but it's aggressive. The positioning of it is aggressive. A second mirror window is going to support the first mirror window with an Azami keeper barrier below it as well.
I do like that.
Wolves have some interesting ideas on how to play Oregon, trying to redefine what the meta is on this site, and notably, they're trying to play this so much more aggressively than a default Oregon defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, the way that they've set up those mirror windows is the sort of thing that Hap would do in one of our ranked games, and we'd have a lot of questions for him. And I guess, well, now we're probably going to see it from him, especially if it works here. Pwns, they'll try and find themselves going for the take across the top there, locking down Attic. Pretty much more of a standard approach. Oh, no!
Oh, he's going to be cursing the fact that the observers just caught that on camera.
He'll not know until we tell him later.
Oh, just go in. Don't even worry about droning it.
You've droned it, by that you've thrown 2 drones at it.
Oh, bloopers of Siege. How about that?
Well, the bloopers, they're at least going to try and build behind them, not wasting time to get the pick up, instead just going for the clear. Exodus swings in to Armory, a dangerous game against the Wolves that we've seen so far, because a lot of the time they've been more than willing to try and swing in. There's the pop with a hot pocket at the top of the stairs, buys them a little bit of time as Mowgli, well, he's in a bit of a tight spot. He has a rotate option, and P4 has the head of Scyther, but the grenade underneath, different idea. Pops the pocket, but the player's gone too.
Yeah, Pwns are actually playing really well once again on the attack. One did get picked off, but a really good appreciation of that nade and that position of Mowgli, who's 0-3, by the way. Widely considered probably the best player on this Wolves lineup, the best fragger. Certainly, they've managed to deal with him exceptionally well. Bibu, he's going to try and just close up some of these angles that Pwns can peek from by using his keeper barriers to enable the location and the relocation back towards the pit area.
It's very good hit from PB. Obviously, he's been playing this role with those keeper barriers, making sure that he can try and apply pressure back into the side holds across every single side so far. Not quite having the same frag impact, but the impact on the shape of the play, the sort of problems he's posing towards Pwns is becoming more and more of a consistency, especially as he has that horrible habit of staying alive. As we see there, takes a bit of damage round from the corner of Amision, but not quite getting the full catch. They've got to try and put the pressure onto Attic.
Pwns have a two-sided attack here coming in from Trophy and also from Attic, but nothing from Big Window, which means that Wolves can front up. People will see the Thermite Crouch walking in, but won't manage to get anything but chip damage.
Well, the Impact's able to do half once again. He doesn't quite have the full lockdown with the second one, but look at the kit. It's not quite in the pockets, and you've only got 15 seconds. At this point, Pwns, your Thermite, he's got to try and find a kill, or he's got to try and find a route round. The pressure from Attic. The first doesn't quite connect. Exodus swings round a Mission, is able to get one, and it was almost entirely into Wolves' favor. The difference of 4 seconds. Oh, it has burnt them in the butt.
That is perhaps one of the most confusing 15 seconds of Siege I've ever seen. Bibu sees the Thermite going in, and it's almost like a fake. It's almost like a fake plant. I don't think the Thermite realized that he didn't have the diffuser, because he kind of just wandered into sight and stood on the default plant position. Bibu's clearly calling that. He's saying Thermite is default. Thermite is default. If only they had realized that the diffuser wasn't, and they had no way of knowing, but if only they'd have realized the diffuser wasn't in the hand of Pwns, they could have played that situation a lot differently. I think for Pwns, a great collapse in the end with 10 seconds to go, just having to force themselves through, and a great decision to actually push deep into sight, play for those kills until they were in the 4v1, and then obviously the 4v1 pick a staircase each, because he's definitely flanking.
That's it. It was last ditch, sort of last chance saloon, and they got out with the drinking around there. Pwns put the pressure to the time and found the important kills. Also, the duck around the corner, taking care on the pre-fire there onto the position of Bibu. They've lent back in after the first round disappointment. They've made sure that their pace is one that matches the game that Wolves had, and to be honest, good for them. Otherwise, if you find a couple more of those rounds going away from you, you can warm up, but the longer it takes, the more devastating it will be. You know that they're always going to assert themselves, this French side. If you don't quite have that, you will be pushed off the map.
And Pwns, like I say, I'm just going to go back to this point, is that they can be a really polarizing team in terms of the maps they do play, they look excellent. The maps they don't play, they don't. And they do play Oregon, and they've looked genuinely excellent so far, apart from that banker site, as I did say. The laundry supply is so hard to win as attackers. And they've got a different idea of this. They're going to send Exodus up with the Amaru straight into tier 3. A lot of teams now tend to do this as P4 finds one onto Nico. This is to completely cut the rotates that might happen back on tier 1, tier 2 side. The problem with this, however, is that a lot of the rotates will happen down the meeting hatch rather than down the staircases. That's why the walls are reinforced. And Wolves, they've got the kill. They've already basically rotated, apart from P4, who is locked out by Small Tower. His job is now just to waste as much time as he possibly can.
It's a suicide position. It's a place that you play to, as you said, waste time and a catch on utility, but outside of that, well, how much can you take? A drone, a swing, a fight, and a player. P4, a double now. They've been able to really cement themselves. They're looking for more, but they have already done in the books of pretty much everybody enough. Amision finds them. Amision's able to at least stop some of this going against them, but you look at what's lost there. It's the Candelas, it's the Sophia, it's that push and that pressure.
You're happy with your Warden dying if the Warden has killed Ying, right? Because it doesn't matter about the execute there. You don't need the Warden for the Ying execute because Ying is already off the board. There's only flashes on side, and crucially for Pwns, this lineup that they're bringing, 0 nades in it. When they execute now, they only have flashes and guns to help them. They cannot physically clear any of these Wolves players out of the power positions without first exposing themselves to a crossfire when they get down on the basement. They're probably going to have to pick a staircase each and just choose to push down it with only a minute to go.
That's the kind of worry, but at the same time, they made it work on the previous round. It's the important first kill. If this engagement goes away from them, well, chances are the rest of the round will go too. Didn't get caught on the Gon 6, but at least revealed the position. You can see they're trying to apply some pressure here, and now they at least have something closer to a straight run down. But you look out at the spread here of Wolves. They have Freezer locked down. They have the 2 players, the pillar, and the pressure from the Shaiko spot to make sure that nobody can get a route in. There's that first engagement. That's their favor. There's that second that almost goes against them. The pick back up finds the drop onto E-Box. Amision stuck in the corner, and Rise gets the second.
Yeah, and I think the composition was always going to struggle if they didn't get the kills and catch the roamers off. They decided in terms of Pwns to try and up the pace on the attack. Unfortunately for them, P4 existed and he managed to get 2 kills and really shunt down the attack. And I think another good round for Wolves, but I will say it again, Emmy, is that this site is an absolute banker for defenses. You would expect defenses to win this site no matter the attacking composition brought.
I guess it's always that sort of setup here is it doesn't feel like the rounds are the most sort of out there. It's kind of good. Both teams are bringing a fight. Both teams are bringing a fire. It's becoming a little bit hard to judge just who is going to be able to get the advantage in this sort of engagement because it's turning into quite a good aggressive map. You're looking at Exodus, obviously screaming away onto 7-3, but there's a couple of Wolves players that still high numbers on the board.
Yeah, I think so. It's Exodus has had a pretty quiet stage, to be honest, in terms of his step up. His stage 1 was quite quiet, and I always thought that, you know, when he could have these really hot games or not games, he's having quite a hot game, and he's a big reason why Pwns have got 2 rounds. Emission's also had an excellent stage, but he's obviously playing the hard breach for this team on Oregon that is generally considered a double hard breach map, so he's going to get himself into less engagements, which are going to do his stats no favors whatsoever. Now, if we go into meeting kitchen, the last time Wolves defended this, they defended it from basically defending above, reinforcing off the hatches, and then a couple of presence on site. And Pwns, they came from the west side across. They managed to open the wall and then play for an execute into kitchen. So will they try that again? They've got Nico playing the Nook this time, and this could be a dangerous little operator because there's a lot of areas that you can get in on Oregon separate from your attack itself and just crouch your way or walk your way into a key area and be absolutely explosive, getting a couple of kills where the defenders, they're just not even going to know that you're there.
Okay, Nico, how sneaky-o can you be? Oh, up the top stairs, around onto the corner to see if they can try and find something with the Nook. They were able to do a very good refrag game here. Over the top. this time they've gone with a slightly different approach. They do have some of the pressure that could come through on the opposite side. There's a bit of drone on grenade violence, but they at least got rid of the Banshee.
Yeah, I think the drone circled back around just to double ping it and unfortunately got costed out. However, the Banshee's gone. The drone has spotted players in pit. And remember, this round came down to the trade exchange that happened in pit and this trophy doorway here. Pwns being the victors of it. Wolves, they're going to hopefully win out the trade battle if they want to win this round.
Exodus, they're tucked in round close on the corner. Look at all these Pwns bodies ready to try and find the fight. And this time round, it seems like, well, let's not stick around. They lost quite heavily here previously. And, well, this time they're at least a little bit more alive. And with a minute 10, that could turn into the important factor because, to be fair, they got a couple of good bites back in towards the plant previously.
A small adaptation of simply just appreciating that the kills and the situation that Wolves were in last time was not advantageous, as P4 manages to get absolutely misdrawn potentially by WTG, who has just gone to go and double check this. I think, oh no, there is no way he's been misdrawn twice. Was on the other side of the door, slipped around, and then got, maybe he's been misdrawn given the silhouettes. I don't know if he's been misdrawn or not. This could be absolutely devastating. Does choose to shoot it out in the end and just play the percentage game. But Wolves, they've got lives on side. Previously, they were in a 3v4 trying to claw this back. Now they're in a 5v5 with only 30 seconds to go. This is advantage Wolves so far.
Nico, once again, being sneaky-o on the other side here. Tucked around on the close corners. We've seen engagements go unchecked here before. Is this another one? Oh, it is. There it is. The turn, the strike, the take, the double. P4 played patiently, popped one. WTG bites back, but instantly picked up by the cover that came through there. One little bit of a misnomer and a misdroner, and suddenly a 4 versus 1. Not quite over, but didn't last much longer. Wolves, they're able to take it out.
Yeah, I think an excellent round from Wolves, and the key decision making was where they lost the round the last time they defended Meeting Kitchen. They saw that as a problem, and their in-game adaptation was excellent. They prepared that actually if this comes up again, we just completely back off this fight. It's not advantageous to us. We don't need to lose our lives from the trade because Pwns, simply as the attackers, can commit more bodies to that engagement than we can as the defenders. So they choose to give Pwns the ground. Save the fight for a rainy day. Take it to a completely different location. That's exactly what they did. Obviously, P4 got away with, ratting it out in the corner, and the misdrones as well. Gets a double kill from the back of that. But I still believe Wolves would have won the round regardless of that.
3-2 now, and Wolves, as I said, they're sort of turning around, and I kind of highlighted it as a game that's turning into quite a good fragging aggressive map, and it's hard to judge exactly where the straight flat round is going to go because of little moments like that, little engagements that just seem to slip the net. It's slightly different to the first game where seemingly they were kind of one-sided how the punishment would go, but here both teams keep having these great responses for each other.
Absolutely. Kidstorms was, if you think about the way the Pwns managed to just win it out, is that they kind of just ignored this below setup from Wolves. So I'm surprised to see that they're continuing with this double mirror window. There's a lot of utility investment from Wolves into holding off the west side approach, especially when Pwns came for basically armory, lobby, trophy side, and then a little bit of attic late round. I wouldn't have been surprised to see Wolves just change off the strat, go to a more default strat, maybe even one that pushes up utility into trophy and aggress onto armory and attic and trophy, but they're going with the same strat. So maybe a little bit of a misplay by Wolves to trust that strat again.
I mean, I guess that's the sort of thing. Do they think they can be the difference maker? Do they think they can try and lean in? It seems like they're, well, trying to lean in. Look at Mowgli's positioning right underneath inside garage. The C4 doesn't quite get the connection. He's going past the big open door. They hoped it would be a little bit further back into the room, a bit of a risk and a gamble, and it didn't quite pay off, but it did sort of fly the flag of, well, we are going to try and meet you much sooner than before. I compared it before to the way that last time people were sort of playing this, not passively, but he was pulling himself back. He was dropping those keeper barriers. Here, he's stacked up inside trophy, trying to find the angle as they're suffering here onto that bedroom hang.
Mowgli's kept himself a little bit safer. Obviously, died to the up nade in the round that they previously defended. Will get himself inside of the games room and peek the pixel peak onto the breach, and therefore hasn't lost his life so far to an upnade. So once again, Wolves valuing their lives, just making the small adaptations of where players are based on the strategy, and it's worked out for them so far. There's only a minute 20 left, and Pwns, they've not got too much map control. They've not got a significant breach they can walk through. They're only just starting to work on attic right now.
And that's a very well rehearsed position there for that keeper barrier. Gives them a really good lock-in, and Emission's going to have to see if they can try and drive themselves closer and closer to this, or pop it with some explosives. They're still tucked around in the corner, and there is ADS as the burn of the flash over the top in the hope that somebody came around under the bottom, but not quite. The thing is, there's no one else to really support them here, and you can see the drones are whirring away, but you compare this take last time from Wolves, they'd at least been able to find a couple kills. They'd done some damage, but they still had to drive themselves onto the site. It's always a potential that P4 might try and break here. The ping on the player, the hope on the hop out. Is he gonna go?
Surely he does. He's got to. He's absolutely got to. He's pinged. He knows that there's a playable window, but Nico seems to actually have an appreciation that he might be there, and he's potentially just trying to bait it out. So we'll have to see if timing will cause Nico issues here. P4 thinks better of it, and WTG will go and get that opening kill with only 28 seconds left.
That's it. That's the risk. BB finds a mission. That's the takeover attic, and they've got themselves that secured because, as I said, there wasn't really anyone else to support it. A swing onto a window is a bold move by Rise, but it's worked out for him and worked out again. Bibu gets Scyther on the cover there. The kit is cold. The last one is Exodus, and this is where it ended the previous time around for the side of Wolves. Same story, different result. 4-2 half.
I was just curious, actually, if Mowgli was going to peek through the fire and go for that end kill there, because Wolves have been very disciplined, but Mowgli's had to play the team game inside of that half. If you looked at his stats, I think he was 0, 5, and 5. So he had 5 assists, but 0 and 5 on the kill death. So I wasn't surprised to see when the round was absolutely won there, he's pushing through fire to try and chase that kill. Because, of course, you know, even though he's playing for the team and he has done an excellent job of playing for the team so far, you do want your kills as a fragger. So, but I think actually for Wolves, that's a good reaction because they were 1-2 down after 3 rounds. They've managed to go and get 3 rounds in a row and fix up their issues, particularly on the meeting site and also on the Kid Storm site, to go and take what I would say is a standard default Oregon half and actually put themselves in the driving seat going into this second half.
I think that's entirely it. It wasn't always sort of locked in and secure, and it's not entirely that Pwns has started to struggle more. I think they've still had a good fight into this game, but Wolves stepped back in. They put the pressure back on where they needed to. A 4-2. It's still kind of even-handed on a map like Oregon, the way that these two teams like to push, but it's down to them to try and drive that pressure now because, to be fair, Pwns were pretty good at getting that opening kill on their attacking rounds.
Yeah, they absolutely were. And there's some more reinforcements and utility coming out from Pwns. They've gone to the Kid Storm site straight away. And a quick comparison is that Wolves wanted to defend onto Kitchen. Pwns quite simply don't. They're looking to defend onto security. All 3 walls in security's Kitchen are reinforced, which means they're going to try and hold onto the vertical below double window and value that more than the attackers being inside of Kitchen itself. P4 is going to get an early kind of Twitch drone in for him. He's also on the Nook, which means he can evade the cameras that they're already gone anyway because obviously Twitch. Looking for early engagements, and they now know that Kitchen is completely clear, which means they can start the process of these upnades. So I don't know if this is a very slight misplay in the strategy by Pwns just to allow the attackers into Kitchen. I guess the proof will be in the pudding if any upnades do find kills for Wolves.
Well, they're trying to find at least the players first. They seemingly don't have the truest lockdown, utilizing the Twitch drone ahead of P4. Do they know of a mission? That's the cost that could come out to haunt them. He is on a hatch with a shotgun that's soft. He could make himself a quick rotate if he wants to try and get out of there and find a quick exit, but he's going to hold his position for as long as possible. And Wolves, they have other ideas. The pressure is going to come across here on the side of Attic. The drone drifts on by. The longer Emission's in this sort of tucked in corner, the more of a pressure and problem he could be. They're going to check it. Oh, I was going to say they're going to check it from underneath, but the camera actually gets dropped. P4 just waits.
There's a good patience here from Wolves. I think they know that he's there and they're creating a plan to deal with a mission. Maybe get one guy in underneath Freezer to cut the rotate when the main push comes in. Obviously, Habana Breach will come in. Even if he leaves, they just want him out of the position so that they can go in double window late. Finally, Rise has got to that position, and this is that teamwork that I talk about with Wolves. Nade will come in, and the mission will lock himself in security. If he does eventually get down the hatch, Rise will kill him. Does find a nice shot onto Mowgli, however, and waste more time and utility. Nade will come in from Rise up the hatch and eventually trade that kill out.
Well, there's a non-traditional up nade. we see coming through there, the open hatch. It was well played. They had the position, as you said. They set themselves up to take the take. And Emission played it very well. He didn't go for the drop, didn't take the bait, was able to take a player out of the equation before he then suffered. Mowgli, who has suffered this entire game, and a bit of a cost here for Wolves. Can they try and drive themselves? The 4 versus 4. The pressure might come now against Addict. Scythe is still locked in on Trophy, and WTG is making sure that Walken is theirs. They have the angle and the chance to go for a swing now, but they're trying to be cautious about where the approach might be coming here from Wolves. So far, it's only really White Stairs and BB putting the pressure onto Addict. He needs this fight, and he doesn't take it. Nico is able to win out, goes for the second. The canister pops, the pressure onto P4. I assume that's on White Stairs. Exodus locks it out there. The C4 onto the window, leaves just one player, but not for very long.
Now, Wolves have by far and away, I think, been the best team through stage 2 so far, through the 2 play days we've seen, but I think they got it wrong on that occasion with their strategy. They only brought one hard breacher. They were playing Finka, Sledge, I want to say Ayana and Nook, and then a hard breacher of Habana, which meant that they could only open one wall. That wall was the attic wall, and we saw Bibu push through later down the line through the attic. The problem with that is they spent so much time dealing with the player in security below to enable those up nades, because you run in such a nade heavy lineup, that they didn't have another point of congestion really set up for them. You saw them late, pushing up White Stairs, going to double window, going to the kids window repel, but actually there was kind of a one-sided attack, and then single players just hitting random parts of site late on in the round because they had to out of necessity. And that's where I felt they really came unstuck dealing with that security player. They were quite slow in dealing with that.
Well, now we head to the bank side, the side that should be in the side of the defenders. Wolves, they were slow, as you said, and slow can be a big punishment here, depending on the hold, depending on how much of a stretch is put across the rest of the map. The Oryx gives the idea that they might try and play that. We have seen some slightly taller holds, and obviously there is some soft hatches for now, and an open one as well on the side of Freezer. They haven't quite reinforced E-Box yet either. Whether that's one that becomes open, it's a big bit of danger to give yourself that full extension, but it's something that more and more teams have lent into.
Yeah, absolutely. The roam's going to be out, and you're seeing all the silhouettes of Pwns. They've got 4 players of the roams on the roam. If Wolves realise this, they might be able to just hit site direct. It looks like they will take fast pacing though, by the way. 30 seconds, and nade's already gone in. They've already forced a player off the freezer stairs. There's still another player in security. This time for Wolves, they've got to deal with a way of getting rid of Nico. They don't have the privilege of Rise being below to throw that up nade this time, so they're going to have to peek him from a lateral position, and Rise does just that.
Okay.
Finds 1, finds 2, doesn't even peek him laterally, peeks him vertically, gets him dropping the hatch, and gets a supporting player. That's a really nice play from Rise.
That is. I mean, he doesn't have himself underneath, but he's sure on top, and tops the 2 players. Drop from 2 different floors, and Exodus has no choice but to try and pull himself a little bit closer towards the site. He is just going to rotate around and see if he can get a bit more of the control, maybe a spray down onto Showers as soon as he gets the call of some audio here. It could be a bit of a surprise, but at this point, Wolves, 2 early takes, 2 kills, 2 players, and that is the problem of this hold. Those hatches are soft. You've kind of got them open in a couple of places as well. There's a game that is otherwise a lot of juggling that has gone off the board. Now they're trying to cause some problems. There is the player that's rotated up to Attic now, WTG, but he's going to think better of it.
Yeah, and I think they had to get aggressive there in terms of Pwns. They had to go and try and trade out that man advantage and get a kill back, and they do just that, but they do get a trade as well, which means it's a straight 1-for-1, which means a 2v4 for Pwns, and it's all time for Wolves. They've got a minute 10 to work with to get these hatches open, to really find the locations of the Pwns players and decide which attack they want to go for, what utility is in place, where can Pwns play, and which side should Wolves go. I would suggest that they might drop all of the staircases slash hatches at the same time, because Pwns physically cannot look in 4 directions at once. The Flores drone will do a little bit of work just to enable that movement, even when they do push down Freezer.
Wow, look at that. There's a bit of movement, bounce back. Scythe is going to try and lean into the first kill and see if he can get aggressive onto the second. Took the hot drone player and removed them from the board, and nobody in a position from the side of Wolves, he said, to be able to refrag. They were gifted a 1 versus 1, and it's always a gamble. Here's the follow-up. P4 makes good use of a hell of a gun there and is able to now get some slightly late revenge, but 20 seconds. WTG doesn't quite have the hop, doesn't have the animation prompt there, and has 2 smoke canisters in pocket. They don't do anything though. Wolves, they take their attack down here and put that pressure back into the side of Pwns.
That was a huge round, and I said it should be a banker. I think Pwns had done enough just to be able to fall off. Obviously, Rise had got that vertical above the hatch. Once he got the double kill, it really put the advantage into Wolves' favour. And I think a good attack round win. You saw the team work together. Once again, BB maybe going a little bit before the rest of his team, to be honest, to get peaked in that 4v2. But even in the 3v2, they managed to win it out. And one thing that I would say is, I remember P4 when Wolves were Vitality, or they might have been LFO at the time. They played against G2. I think it was in stage 1. It could even have been in stage 3 last year. And P4 playing the Twitch is just an absolute menace on this map because he's got a lot of freedom to play the Twitch. And I remember him just dropping the hatch and just getting a 3k into Laundry and just making things happen. He's so comfortable on that gun. He obviously does a great amount of work with the utility as well. And I actually consider in the days of these target bans, would I prefer Mowgli on the Thinker or P4 on the Twitch? I think I probably prefer Mowgli on the Thinker at this point.
I mean, to be honest, there's also Rise on the Sledge.
Yeah, true.
Over 2 rounds, he's been able to find
having another corker of a game, by the way.
I think that's sort of what I commented on at the very beginning of this, is his first Playday of this season was one of the worst he's ever put down. One of the worst anyone's ever put down. We love you, Rise, you Belgian machine, and you admitted it yourself. Not good. And then he came back, and then he had a Stormer as the opener on the previous map. And now here, once again, he has led in. He was being aggressive in that opening round, found the very first kills of the game, and has kept that pressure up. His response is sharper than what can be expected, I think, of any of us that are of the age that we are.
It shows incredible mental resilience, by the way, to get that scoreline. And Rise put in a terrific game when he went 0-12. Yeah. He had an absolutely excellent game, and I will stand by that until the day I die. But if that game hadn't happened and this was game 2 and he'd put in that game 1 performance, we'd be talking about him as one of the best players in the league at the minute. It's he went 0-12 in the very first. Now, Mowgli, he's done a little bit of a miss drone so far. Needs to be disciplined with drone and double check his corners. Will double check his corners. Will see a play and will take the engagement. He is on Ayana. Cautious that somebody is on the stairs. Will look for the nade kill as Rise gets 2 again. Is that from vertical? Yep.
It is. Rise once again able to find the opener here. We talk about what he's been able to do here on the drive, and he just keeps driving. There it is. And that is obviously 2 more players taken out, a slightly different circumstance, but once again, that verticality is entirely in the hands of the Belgian, and they're going to see if they can try and close down around the same amount of time as they had to work with. 1 less player, I believe, is the difference. Was it a 5 versus... No, it was a 4 versus 3.
4 versus 3, yeah.
Yeah, last time as well.
Rise is an exceptional player at expecting not the immediate player that's been droned, but the person that will support him. That first kill came onto the tower stairs, and then the guy that was rotating down. Really nice positioning from Rise, really nice expectation from Rise, working together to trade his teammate out. Like you say, 4v3, get the hatches open, pick your poison, pick where you're going to push from. They've got a little bit more time to work with, because they've been working on this site for about 45 seconds now. And it looks like, conversely, they went Laundry Freezer in the previous round. Looks like they're going to go Tower and Blue this time. So a change of approach as well from Wolves in which side they would like to attack from.
Well, we just saw the canister played. They're making sure they can burn as much time here onto the side of the blue push. There is that canister that's going to waste another 15 seconds. Wolves, they're not going to have the most amount of time to go for a late second push here, so they're making sure that everything is locked down, turned around the corner. There is still the opportunity to get that swing reinforced, and there is now P4 who just misses a take inside the site, but WTG doesn't. Finds Rise, gets a bit of revenge from the player before. Suddenly they're all dropped, trying to put the pressure onto the site itself. The lockdown from the side, they need that player from Freezer gone. That is the big risk, and that is the big push right now, and that's why they're going to try on the blinds. Blinds himself on the drive around the corner. There's the reveal, there's the end of a barrel, and there's the take and a cold kit. The spray round, Bibu gets 1, can't quite find the next. They're lost in the sources down to Nico, but look at the timer, he doesn't survive.
Excellent composure there from Wolves just to play for the kills. There was a very distinct call made not to play for the plant because they didn't have sufficient coverage over the elbow player. They couldn't deal with the elbow player and hold the plant at the same time. So they choose to push in deep, take the 1 for once, and they eventually trade that back out into a 3v1 advantage, getting the kill. Even though it got them to 2 seconds left on the round, they still managed to win the round in quite a good fashion there. Really good stuff from Wolves. They've got to 6. They've guaranteed themselves overtime. They've guaranteed concede themselves one more point in this race for the top 4, in this race for the in this race for the Berlin Major. We've had Charlotte. They went to Charlotte, didn't do too well.
No,
but
they did not.
Another point secured, and they look good for the win to take all 3 points as well.
That's it right now. As we said, this was always going to be, I guess, a game that could be closer than what the score set itself up to, and it has been. It's not over yet. A 6-3. They haven't taken their time out again. Another time that a team hasn't opted to. They're instead going to see if they can try and put the distance in. We had it on our previous game, and granted, it was a 6-1. It was a little bit further apart, but still, it's not that it's entirely been lost here for Pwns.
Not entirely. I think they won the Kid Storm's defense last time. And I think, to be honest, I think they won it off the back of Wolves being really slow and really sloppy with the clear out of a mission in that position in security. I would expect Wolves to be better, but they did win Kid Storm, so if they can get the Kid Storm's defense sorted, the problem is, even if they win this round, it's where do they go next? Did they go back to Laundry Supply where they've just been comfortably beaten on that roam strategy twice? If they go back there, do they turtle? Or do they then go to a tertiary site? So I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for Pwns to even get to overtime at this point.
Well, it's the tough ask, the big hill, and the Wolves that are circling ever closer to another 3 points. And once again, the top of the board with Heroic being the only team that could potentially keep pace if Wolves are to slip away with another 3 points here. The pressure's coming early once again. P4 able to drive in with the Flores drones and do some damage. They are putting control over to Trophy, which they didn't really do last time. It was entirely a take from the bottom of White. They tried to put some pressure underneath and they got some early damage, but it took a lot of time.
I said that it was pretty one direction on the previous round, and this time it looks like there are going to be more than one directions coming in. Mowgli is going to take a walk into Master Bedroom and get a lot of utility for his trouble and chip damage onto Nico as this attack is coming out from the armory side. You would hope that they can establish a little bit more map control, maybe get the breach, and then start dealing with the players in these positions, but it's all that time. They've spent a minute 20 figuring out the positions, and they've not got too much to show from it apart from Master Bedroom control.
That's it right now. Nico's in a tough situation because if he moves, he probably dies, and he knows the pressure's coming. But as long as he's there, he's a problem. As long as he's in this position, he can do some damage, and Scyther there has some of the support to make sure that he's not entirely locked out. The swing round, and once again, they've hit themselves at a little bit of an impasse. There is just the side of a player. There's the drop on them as well. P4 is gone. The flash comes through. There's not a follow-up, and Nico, well, he's actually been able to tuck himself into a new position. Pulled further back. Scyther's still locked in and locks down a second take. Mowgli still not quite able to connect with this game to the same pace as you'd kind of hope as a Wolves fan, but Rise definitely has been. He's looking for that engagement. I'm not sure if they know about Nico's rotate, but they're going to have to take ones of their own, get a little bit more width, and pre-fire round gets some revenge, but 45 seconds. They still have attic control, and they still have the site locked in here, Pwns.
It's a pretty late response to Pwns that have got, Pwns Cypher managed to find 2 kills from the same position, and finally Rise has dealt with it as Bibu. He's just walked into sight on his own. Shinka's going to go in and try and look for potentially a plant spot, but he's in a trouble. There's one on the bomb chassis, one in Kid Storm's zone. He will just peek out as the fire might get 1 kill. Rise will push in, get 1 kill, get 2 kills. 1v2, this is absolutely doable for Rise, but WTG swings out, shotgun, close range, wins the round for his team, and I've got to say that round, it was completely won based off Cypher's actions and Wolves' inability to just trade that kill out in a sufficient manner.
It was once again this Storm's approach by Wolves stagnating. They hit a wall, they hit a moment, they hit a bit where they were breaking
as well. And we can see that through the operator overlay, which is exactly what they've done. Pwns the last 2 times have tried roaming on this site and been punished significantly by Rise by punishing the roam. This time, they're bringing what appears to be turtle operators. They're bringing their mirror. They're bringing their Jaeger, Smoke, Melusi, Goyo. That screams delay, 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 and then fall back to powerful positions.
Well, let's see if they can delay enough to get themselves within 1 round of grabbing some points and potentially 2 from the side of Wolves. Wolves, in the same breath, are still so close. Rise cannot be the one to sort of do it all. I said it before that we're seeing a good aggressive map from a lot of these players. Mowgli is really the only sort of loose thread here, but at the same time, Amision from the side of Pwns is this player that has been a tour de force recently, and well, if they're able to try and put in the pressure at the same level, it could be a different score on a board here. It's that sort of confidence that we're not quite seeing from a player that's on a bit of a back foot this game.
Yeah, it's been awkward. 8 assists, by the way.
It's a lot.
Taking engagements, he's just not winning them, and I think, you know, Rise will be quite happy that that's happening from his point of view. Mowgli, you say confidence though. He's getting in, he's taking the gunfights, and he's going fast in taking ground control, and that's exactly what he should be doing. Rise, of course, will be working on vertical, so this is fast map control by Wolves, enabled by good drone work, enabled by good communication to know that they can go and take this fast work. Rise is a tremendous vertical player, and I want to say that is a lot of his kills have come through vertical, but even there, just clearing a flank, clearing the default cam, it's all vertical above site, where, or not even above site, above 2 floors above site, where he knows that he will probably be safe because the drone work has cleared out the whole map.
Well, obviously, last time we were here, Pwns, they played themselves open, and as you said, the pickups this time is something a lot more closed and claustrophobic. They're ready to burn, well, players and time as this approach, this lock-in. It does give Wolves more space that they can take. They know that they can try and put the pressure onto the hatches. They know they can get themselves set up on the top 2 floors without too much pressure. But to be honest, last time they were quick as well, and they found 2 players for the bang for their buck. So, stat for stat, Pwns have themselves still locked in a good place. Mowgli's going to try and apply some pressure here onto the side of blue a bit earlier than was otherwise driven before. They know the players around on that pocket. They have the reinforcement if they want to lock it. It depends how much they're going to try and drive here against the team.
They've got a lot of utility to deal with these power positions. They've got the RCU Rotero drones. They've got flashes on side. They've got nades on side that can completely just get rid of all the utility. You'll see Shinka will be using the Rotero drones. Will actually get taken out by the fire of the Goyo Hot Pocket exploding at the same time. But it's just about the time that you take to clear them. Cypher's playing the Shaiko position. You've got WTG in the elbow and numerous others playing those power positions inside of sight. Can you clear them, and can you do it in a time-effective manner?
Cypher, he is going for a secret mission up the blue stairs, and he's able to win it out. Dobbs himself just a little bit down, caught by a drone. He's still going to play this around. An important first take here against the man of the moment for Wolves. They're still trying to put some pressure here onto the side of blue. They've been able to get some control. The smoke canister is just going to slow them a little bit more. Still one in pocket here for WTG's doing enough. There is an unfortunate catch there. Mowgli able to strike and find Scythe for 20 seconds. The flashes, the pressure, it's coming from multiple different angles here. Exodus wants to swing around onto the pillar as well. There's the control there of blue that goes against them. Emision bites back. Bibu over the top. The locked in Emision. I said I wanted to see a little bit more, and here's the most important time for him to do it. Exodus, he sprays through, makes the kick cold. 5 seconds. Mowgli, he's got to try and find one. Gets the down, looks for the second. No time, no player, no way.
That was so close, and I think Pwns have played that absolutely perfectly. That adaptation of them not roaming, going and turtling on site, knowing that Wolves would have to go through their processes regardless of what Pwns were doing, which is exactly what Wolves did. And then use time as the key advantage for you. Play those power positions, and we saw it right in the end. I think a slight misplay by Wolves, choosing in the 2v2 to go in and go for the plant when they hadn't cleared and didn't have full information on all of the power positions. They took an assumption that both of the Pwns players were deep in laundry supply area, maybe in freezer, and they weren't. One was lurking in highway, and that was the big differentiator in that round, because it absolutely was winnable by Wolves.
Still close and close, and round we go. Pwns 1 round away on tertiary site we haven't gotten the taste of yet, but from 6-3, they've been able to bite themselves back into a game, and here the risk is, can they try and get that early take onto Wolves? Because the lockdowns that they've done have seemingly worked into their favor a little bit more. When they have a little bit more time to work with and more time to stress and pressure Wolves, it's turned into a good result for Pwns. It's still close, but it's close in a win rather than we've lost 2 in the opening minute because of this looser play. It's tougher to do on this site.
Yeah, this will be the first time that we see Pwns actually defend the tertiary site. They've gone Kid Storms, Laundry, Laundry, Kid Storms, Laundry. So finally they've strung 2 defensive rounds together, and this is for overtime. This is not expected, by the way, by a lot of people. I think it was 91% or 89% expected.
It was high.
Wolves. It was really high, but Pwns, like I will say, this is their most favorite map to play on. This is their #1 preference. So we should expect that they would be competitive and they wouldn't go down without a fight.
On a fight indeed. It's as close as it can be towards potentially going all the way, all 12 regulation rounds, whether it goes further. And the pressure here is, my money, actually on Wolves, as you've said, and we've seen their pace has sometimes been a bit slow And that's where Pwns have been able to just stress and stretch the time. It's not that they're massively leaning in outside of a couple of maneuvers and moves by Scyther, but still enough. Just with the Goyo canisters that they've played on the previous rounds, with the smoke canister that I think WTG's been able to pop in the perfect positions at the right time before. Now the Azami play as well. Rise taking a slightly different approach to the verticality here. He's got obviously the buck instead of the sledge, but to be honest, it's the game style that he likes. Hey, here's a ping. Hey, here's an idea. Hey, here's the chance at a rush. You have to have the confidence you can take it. The flashes go through, the pressure onto Addict, the pull onto the player, the ping comes through. They don't have the connection. There it is. Shinka gets one, looks to Addict to try and get the refrag. P4 goes down though. The grenade just catches the tail end, but Emission is able to find P4 underneath.
I love watching Wolves and how they manufacture crossfire situations. The two flashes coming in, the boost spot in Kid Storms, and then the Amaru in through the window. It's absolutely sensational to watch sometimes. It's different, it's fun, and this is why a lot of people love watching this team. They've got a 4v3, and they now have full vertical control, which means they can choose their poison. They can pick which side they want to go to. It looks like it's going to be Kitchen, but they don't have any hard breach, and that's the big problem here. If they're going to force away through Kitchen, they need to clear security. They need to clear every angle onto this doorway. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to force their way through the kitchen door.
45 seconds now, Wolves. They've been able to pull executes in a tight space of time before, and the pressure's going to see if it can come round. Rise is actually the only one to take a little bit of damage during that engagement with the control over the second story, but clearing their way towards the chance at a plant here, tucked in on the corner. They're hoping they can get the long arm, and with the smoke still on the board, it is not the easiest ask, especially with only a handful of seconds left. There's a reveal of the Azami. In a position to go for a swing and an impact too. There's still the long arm place. They don't have a straight route through. Emission suffers on the side of a grenade and explosion. There's the canister. Is it a little bit too late? There's the cover that comes through from Mowgli. Shinka can stick it regardless of his lungs is full of damage, and that's the important part. He escapes. And Emission, well, he was all that's left, but it is 3 points for the side of Wolves, just over the line.
And I think excellently from Wolves, they had to work hard for it. They had to react. They were 2-1 down on their defenses. They had to adapt in rounds 4, 5, and 6 on their defense. Got themselves the standard 4-2 defense. And then even then, Pwns created a little bit of a comeback. Ultimately, the differentiating factor here, I think, between the two teams